Yo ho ho! What's going on, guys? This is Grim Reaper bringing you a good one, a great one, bro. It's really it. Like, I want to hurry up and get started because there's a lot to cover, a lot to talk about. So, if you guys want to support the channel, if you guys want to help us grow, make sure you check out our Patreon and our Discord links right there. If you want to join the family Discord, talk about everything right there. Our Discord and our Patreon to support us financially with a bunch of different tiers and perks and privileges along the way. And remember to subscribe. Click that big red button. Click that big red button. Click that button twice. All right. 133. Oh, something huge part 2. Put it together. The fight is gonna be gargantuan, and what else could you really ask for? Like that's really it. What else could you really ask for? Not only do I want to talk about like the fact that now we're truly seeing what an above dragon fight truly entails. We got one with the Boros fight, but this one doesn't include Saitama, so we can start to expect this level of fighting to be the median or the medium, which you'll see normally when these types of individuals get involved, which, as we saw, took an entire arc's worth until Saitama showed up with Orochi, and now here in the middle part. So, spectacular part, amazing destruction, like, the scale of, like, just everything that was going on was just crazy, like, just unimaginable so far, just unimaginable. Not to mention, don't forget, we just seen the Earth get cut last week, bitch. The repercussions of that happened this week. Before we get to that, though, we can confirm now that Sairochi's beams can be spammed. At the end of the last chapter, we weren't sure what was really going on because like she made this whole like symbol thing to her forehead or whatever, and like something came on her chest. And she blasted it out, and like a single one did all that. And then look, it looked like she was getting ready to do it again, and she did do it again without much effort. So that does seem to be the case. That like definitively, with God's boost, Sairochi, the Orochi and Psycho Fusion can indeed spam these earth-cutting beams, which is it's crazy. We're now more readily seeing, or maybe more clearly seeing an individual who can truly destroy the earth. Let's say that Boros couldn't, but she seems to have more access to it. That being the case, on the side, we did get Tatsumaki hyping up King, so we're gonna get that continued storyline to where like she may fall in love. Yeah, I was reading Son 11 like one of the main females fell in love with the main character, so I'm like, oh, like I love seeing like the connection, bro. Like, cause before Tatsumaki was like, oh, King, you were fighting all night. Like she was super wet for him, bro. So I'm excited to see how that relationship is gonna grow from this point. Cause remember, like Tatsumaki doesn't know what happened with the Rover Punch. And I think she may have attributed to Darkshine or Baldy or whatever, but it could be King. She could attribute it to King. And I'm assuming that a lot of the feats that we hear are going to be attributed to King. So I'm just laying the groundwork so we can acknowledge that later on whenever it does get brought to the light by Murata and one, maybe or most likely at the end of the arc. Now, as I said before, a fight entailing 2 above dragon individuals, as we're seeing now, is going to be catastrophic regardless. With Saitama and Boros, it was contained to the top of the ship, which was indomitably tough, bro. Like Boros' ship is one of the strongest things in the series. Even then, some of their attacks still managed to destroy the bottom of the city, the surrounding areas, and then Saitama managed to clear it out all the way across the sea to the other continent. So we did see that its potentials to scale over, but that was reaching more of the god range. In this instance, Tatsumaki lifts the entire coast. As we talked about earlier, in last chapter, Sairochi was able to cut a portion of the earth with her beam that hit the water, hit the crust, and then just cut straight through it. Came back down, and they were supposed to be an omnidirectional, just gargantuan tsunami. Water like flew up as high as the eye can see, above clouds even, and stuff like that. And which you're going to get to see the effects. But Tatsumaki managed to deal with it in an unimaginable method. Like I wasn't even like thinking, predicting, like nothing came to my mind to give me a hint or that alluded that she was gonna like basically lift the coast and create like a moat. It's like a huge hole there so the water can fall through. Like it makes sense. You do that whenever there's gonna be flooding or whenever there's gonna be a hurricane or whatever. But like I just didn't like it just didn't come to mind, you know? Maybe it's because like Murata lives on an island. You know, we live somewhat on like in a peninsula quote unquote Florida or whatever. I'm surrounded by water, but I don't necessarily have that many troubles with like the ocean because I live far away from the coast. It's ingenious that shit works. Maybe levees or dams, but either way, and the fact that she then was able to like weaponize those like, bro, we're talking about an entire coastline. That's why I keep saying the coast. It's not small. You really got to take into account the scale of her capabilities, the scale of her interference, the scale of her defense, the scale of her offense. Like, she was throwing these gargantuan, like just mountains. Like, she basically had a mountain range raised up. I'm pretty sure in the actual picture where you see it from a far point of view, Tatsumaki is a glimmer as well, and you just see all the rocks in the sunlight in the sunset, bro. That you see the mountain range right below it. She definitely picked up more matter than the mountain range, much more than that, and then she threw it all and directed it all at Sairochi. Incredible presentation, incredible display of power. Like, I don't really know like better words to describe it. Like, that's a crazy way of fighting. That's like getting to the potential of nukes when you're fighting with nukes, just throwing nukes, bitch. Boom, 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 boom. Like, masses of the city were at stake, were in danger. The entirety of the fight. From multiple sides, by multiple attacks, from multiple forms of danger. It was like, I love above dragon fighting. Like, this is what I'm here for. It does not cloud or it does not like make the other forms of fighting pale in comparison. Because we've seen some great shit, but like, man, am I gonna long to see another fight like this after this happens, after this is done. And I'm hoping that we get another full chapter of this nice squabble here. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. We'll get to that in a little bit. 10 seconds. Alright, so that being said though, the way in which Sairochi actually got like discombobulated or like incapacitated, beat, disadvantaged in the fight was kind of weird to me. It seemed kind of sudden. It wasn't wrong. It made sense. It was all plausible because we made the connections in the previous chapter. Tatsumaki herself pointed out that that the and Sairochi mentioned that the veins, the like gooish like matter that was like connected to the base and the ground around them was sucking up energy and like powering Sairochi. So it just made sense to remove her power supply. Not only will she have a finite amount of threat, she only provide a finite amount of threat to you, but then now she can't keep getting stronger. Now she can't continue to like threaten the individuals inside of the base she's protecting currently. Regardless of that circumstance, she did get down there. We got an amazing badass panel of Tatsumaki in her Super Saiyan stance. They're buffed up with her hair up. Amazing. You can definitely expect to see that on a thumbnail in one of the videos that we do this week. She goes up there, follows the veins, and is able to like use that great, amazing power to just rip her apart. I believe we actually saw her use that same technique up against Garou previously. The puppet. She like twisted around like a strong like gravitational force is just pulling and twisting. So like any matter just like sucked in, just like ripped sideways. Kind of like the whole Obito effect with his eye during the Kamui thing. How he was able to like, I think Kakashi did that to cut off Deidara's arm in the beginning of Naruto Shippuden. If you guys remember that, if you're making that connection, you know, just in case. But regardless of that, like it was badass, and she displayed her power. You would think that like you would need an overwhelming display of just catastrophic effort and destruction to bring down a being like this, and that's probably going to be the case with the addition of Genos in the fight. But for her to get to that point using that technique, like I said, it isn't cheap. It makes sense, and especially with like showing something that she's already using her arsenal to just be effective in a different situation is also a really good way of storytelling. It's not, you're not making up any new techniques, you're not making up any ass pulls or like nerfing any characters. It's just, this is how your power works. I'm gonna exploit some of its weaknesses or some of the vulnerabilities of it, and it's gonna be detrimental. So it was badass and nice, and I accepted it, but it still came too like fast to me. And most likely, like I said before, the consequential defeat of Sairochi in this next confrontation or next chapter with Genos involved, and maybe somebody else, maybe even Saitama, will probably be satisfying to what I'm saying. So to talk to Tatsumaki's durability, it's something that like we need to talk like really dive into. A lot of times, I want to say we've done it for most of the characters. In One Punch Man podcast, if you guys check the link in the description, check that out. It's a conversation we do with a bunch of One Punch Man creators. We've done a lot of single characters or like first impressions of the S-Class heroes and dragons and all kinds of characters. We talk about in depth their first presentation, their appearance, their capabilities, potentials in the story, all different kinds of things. Tatsumaki has been introduced, but we haven't had a chance to get the full package. This is really her first. I don't want to say the first full fight because it's been going on for quite a few chapters since the beginning of the arc, but it's when she really got to cut loose since the Orochi assault with all those beams coming from the side. Since Psycho took that elixir, see, that's when she really started to cut loose. So that's the Tatsumaki that we got to see. That's the Tatsumaki that took part in complete battle, taking damage, dealing with tough situations, thinking through problems, being in a pressure situation, and attacking hard. Like if you get all those facets in a fight, it's pretty much complete. You're pretty much seeing the full capabilities of that character or of that individual in that instance. If you're missing like effort, people will say that, oh, he wasn't trying, he was holding back. So you still have the shadow possibility of him showing like greater abilities later on. If he gets beat and is torn apart, they're gonna say like, oh, he wasn't strong or whatever, or oh, he's trash or whatever, and they're gonna downplay the abilities that he actually showed. So it's important to balance what you're actually displaying in a fight, what they do in a fight, and then what you actually see, what's drawn, to get a great perspective of the character that's not biased in a certain way, or that's not too in a certain direction. Case in point, on My Mask. My Mask didn't successfully land any hits on Fear Ugly, and My Mask successfully cried and asked for help in the fight. Didn't show any like determination or anything like that, and he got assaulted. Like, it's not only are we not closer to seeing the true power of a My Mask, and it's still looming above us, but now I think less of a Mai because of that presentation. So, and it's not like he did it wrong. Murata did not do that wrong. I was done on purpose. It's for a reason, and we'll see that reason. It'll probably be satisfactory, but I guess we're just on that like part of the track in the roller coaster, like on that low part of the roller coaster where Mai is just super doo-doo booty buns. That nigga's ass trash. And yes, I did take a review video to talk about Mai. All right, moving forward from how tanky. Well, no, not moving forward from how tanky Tatsumaki. We didn't even talk about it. She's been shocked, I believe, like twice now. Incredibly tough. There's the other ball where she had her like gravitation or her psychic abilities used against her. So the more that she like, released output of energy to try and break through the shield, the more force was pushed up against her, and it almost knocked her out. It was only King's interference that saved her. And now comes again where she's getting shocked like out of her brains. She got stabbed through her hands like Jesus, which is weird. Some weird symbolism, it's whatever, but it wasn't related enough for me to connect her, for me to say it's religious, so don't trip about it at all or make any connection like that significant. But she got stabbed through her hands and she got the shit shocked out of her. And like there were some rings around her hands too, so I'm pretty sure she was incapacitated while she was like that. Like she couldn't really just like slide out or anything like that. And then she dealt with it. It was seconds after when she was flying down and Genos saved her that like she recouped and then was able to assist Genos and was really about to like lead the fight. And she even told Genos like, hey, get out of here, bro. Like, relax, I got it, I can handle it. And then Genos was like, hey, I'm the disciple. I'm the disciple. King only put you in charge because he told Saitama to wait, or Saitama's coming up. He's not here yet. That's the only reason. And the dynamics are badass. There's a lot of relation and a lot of nostalgic thoughts when it comes to that relationship. Back all the way to the Hero Association meeting where she was talking shit to Saitama, making that connection there. So if Saitama shows up here, we could get a flash type reveal for for Tatsumaki, which would be weird, but I'm interested to see how that develops as a storyline. Genos and Tatsumaki themselves, they fought. Genos was talking shit to Tatsumaki. He's always able to confront Saitama's enemies or whatever. He's not afraid to. And she slapped the hell out of him after the mission when they took down the Boro ship. So, just to see them reunite, like, talking all that junk, and now she's helping him, or he's helping her, like, and she's accepting it. It's a good change. You're seeing the evolution there, and I'm interested to see what the next step in that relationship is going to be. I don't think Genos and Tatsumaki are going to be a thing or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, it'd be cool to see how that dynamic's going to play out. I don't want her to join the new Fubuki group or anything like that, but we'll see. Now let's talk about the big points here. there's been downplay of Genos for a long time. For a long time. And I won't go to the point of making the webcomic notion accusations. You know, I'll be fair because most people do quote and reference the manga whenever we have debates or discussions. But on the flip side, there's been some pretty unfair downplay of this individual. Nobody respects his presentation against Elder Centipede. All these people that I talk to all the time disregarded as, oh, he wasn't intended to do anything or be sufficient, or it wasn't anything nice. It has no bearing on what we saw visually on the panel. That's why, like, it can't be biased. It has to be that, like, we prioritize different, like, sources or different references or different things, because if the pictures are drawn there and they're saying one thing, I don't really care that much as to what the author has to say, because believe it or not, the majority of the fans that are gonna like see that medium, whether it's through the manga or whether it's through the anime, they're not gonna hear what the author says. They don't. Like, how many individuals have seen all the Harry Potter movies and haven't heard a lick of what J.K. Rowling says? Don't even know what her voice sounds like. Don't even know what she looks like. There are plenty of examples like that. Plenty of famous books, plenty of famous movies who the diehard fans, maybe not the diehard fans, but who the casual fans have no bearing upon the specifics of what the author thinks or what he dictates to be like extracurricular information. It's just what's on the picture. So like that has to be our first source. The pictures, the actual panels have to be our first source. All I'm claiming is that like Genos' presentation against Elder Centipede visually looked amazing. He put in work. He always works hard. He always is great. He loses up against individuals that are way stronger than him. Guys like Oketsu that are like way above his level at the time. Most dragons would have an amazing time fighting up against him. Most dragons would have a tough time beating Goketsu, whether they're a hero or whether they're a monster or not. Whatever, they're gonna have a tough time fighting Goketsu. Genos just lost him, and it's inconsequential. Same thing for Elder Centipede. Arguably, probably one of the strongest defenses that we've seen in the series, and Genos failed to bring him down. Who did? Saitama. Who beat Goketsu? Saitama. Let's not confuse the situation here. Genos' power-up isn't exaggerated. It isn't crazy. I don't want to say it's alluded to, hinted at, or even reasonable. It's definitely reasonable. Let me not say that. It's definitely within the realm of reason. It's just a big boost. Now, I've come to a consensus and agree with several guys in the Discord that there should be some much-needed drawbacks. At the 10-second time limit isn't enough, and there should probably be some other detrimental effects that go along with it. Whether it's melting his armor, like happened with Brave right after he released the Emperor Nova, or whether it's some inconsistency about like his body in general, to where like maybe he can't heal as fast for a while, or maybe he'll be out of commission for a few days like he was before. Whatever the case may be, I am expecting Genos to be out of commission out of this fight, which is unfortunate because I was expecting a rematch between Genos and Garou, or maybe a rematch with Metal Bat, Genos and Garou. But that does open up the situation to have Metal Bat fight Garou or whatever, so that could be the case. But I still want Genos to encounter Garou, and it'll be even more badass if Genos, without the 10-second God mark, goes and fights Garou, because then it gives us actual stakes now. We know where Garou is. We know he's strong as hell. We know he's almost indomitable and very tough in overcoming anything. But we also saw what happened with Garou versus Genos in that fight before. Case in point, Genos will get a rematch. Case in point, Garou has to find Saitama. Case in point, I do believe that Genos should confront Garou before Saitama arrives and remind him that his master is around and he should be careful. I think that should be the sequence of events. I'm not saying it's gonna be. I'm not saying that that's how it has to be. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that like Genos is strong. He's powerful now. We don't know how powerful he's gonna be fighting wise without this upgrade. Without the upgrade, or without even the 10-second super ultimate weapon. But if he's still capable of fighting after he uses his weapon, he's gonna fight Garou. If he's not, I'll yield, and it'll be exciting either way. Regardless of that, this chapter was amazing. I'm excited to see a lot more of this level of fighting. I'm excited to see a lot more of these characters. Tatsumaki's going to do great. Psychos is going to do great. I want to see a Rosie come out to actually get that grudge against Saitama before Garou comes into the case or whatever happens.
It's gonna be an amazing, amazing rest of the arc, and not to mention anything else that can be thrown in there and we're not aware of. Hint, hint, Phoenix Man. See y'all, boys. Remember to subscribe.